Every day, another shoe drops on the Maryland dead. He was a suspect in a human trafficking operation dating back 3 years. And Fox Digital just got their hands on the body cam. But you're seeing it here first. Tennessee Highway Patrol stopped Kilmar for speeding and noticed he had 8 other people in the car. All no luggage. Take a look.
Hello, sir.
How are you?
Good, and you?
All right.
Everything good?
You got a bunch of people in here, don't you?
It's 1 for sick. Yes. Go back to work.
Gotcha. Where are you working at?
Where?
Where?
San Luis, Missouri.
Missouri?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I'm from to Maryland.
So where do y'all live at?
Where I live in? I live in Maryland.
Maryland?
Yeah, also here.
Whose vehicle is it?
What, excuse me?
Whose car is it?
It's to my boss.
Your boss?
My boss, yeah.
Where's he live? Where's your boss live?
My boss right now is staying in Maryland, but he lives in Texas.
Okay.
Houston, Texas.
After talking to Kilmar, the officers had no doubt he was trafficking.
You know what you got here, right?
No.
He's hauling these people for money. You got an ass hauler is what he's doing, but sometimes they commingle dope.
No. What?
There's 8 people in there.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know that. They put an extra row of seats in there.
Yeah. So he's getting paid to all these people, probably to Maryland, I would say, if I had my guess.
He said they all work together. Is what he's telling me, but he's the only one that knows English.
So let me ask you this. They don't have any luggage in there, right? And if you get them out, they're going to have a tube of toothpaste, and they're going to have toothbrushes in their pockets, I guarantee you.
He's got $1,400 cash in his pocket in an envelope.
In the video, you can see one of the cops making a phone call. The body cam audio cuts out for 10 minutes. Sources told us that on that call was Joe Biden's FBI, which advised police not to detain Kilmar at the time. That source also tells us Highway Patrol called Biden's ICE, and they never showed up. Biden's guys said an MS-13 gangster, suspected human smuggler and wife beater, released into the country. God knows what he did and was never caught for before Trump deported him. Every day, another.
So the Biden FBI has a suspected, MS-13 gang member, suspected human trafficker, caught in the act of trafficking human beings. Biden's FBI says, don't detain him. No, let him go. So I don't know what to do with that. But that's in my estimation, that's criminal negligence. No, I'm not talking about Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I'm talking about the FBI. Whoever gave that order, if they are still working for the FBI, that person, I would have some very serious questions for him or her. Right? Or is it me? Am I making too much of it? Or do we just let this go? Because the guy's probably still here. Again, the FBI officer that said let him go. And then I would want to know, did Christopher Wray know about that? He would routinely present himself in front of Congress and say nothing. Well, I'm not going to talk about that. That's an ongoing investigation. It was always an ongoing investigation. Did the FBI have anything to do with killing Martin Luther King Jr.? That's still an ongoing investigation. I mean, it was ridiculous. Unless you're talking about the person who tried to unalive President Trump. Then he called him the shooter. Well, the shooter said this and the shooter said that. I think the shooter was not very sophisticated. Well, the shooter had some very crude. I mean, you couldn't stop him from talking. Because as a congressman, I would have asked him, if I were in Congress, hey, are you investigating this guy? Or has your investigation come to a halt? Because this is an ongoing investigation, yet you're spilling the beans. No. I'd have real questions for that person, because that's criminal. Democrats are demanding that we go to El Salvador and bring this guy back. Demanding. This is insanity. No. Because it actually gets worse.
I came to fill out a protective order. I think it was in December. But I didn't show up to the court because his family washed my brain telling me.
Hang on a second. Now, I want to make something clear. This is Kilmar Abrego Garcia's wife. Okay? Listen to what she says. This is the guy the Democrats are protecting.
I came to fill out a protective order. I think it was in December. But I didn't show up to the court because his family washed my brain telling me that his dad was sick and not to do it. So I didn't do anything. But after that, it was I would call the police. I have a lot of police reports.
I'm sorry, I got to stop it right there. I have police reports, plural. Not I have a police report. I have police reports. I'm going to tell you, once a woman starts filling out the police reports, it's been going on for a while. It's just that now it's gotten to a point where it's like, okay, I can't take it anymore. Do you agree? Hey, if you agree, press that like button. All right. But I believe this has been happening for a long time. She's got multiple police reports. Again, this is the guy Democrats are going to bat for.
And I kept trying to get to the door basement to try to open the door, and then he pushed me. So then when I was able to go outside to get a phone, I called 911 from a disconnected phone. Now they took a long time to get to the house. It was probably 20-30 minutes. So I saw a neighbor walking his dog, and I opened the door and I was like, help. And then when he heard me, he grabbed me from my hair and then he slapped me. And then the neighbor, he didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to react. I have pictures of the evidence, all the bruises, because it's not even on.
She has all the bruises. She has pictures. See, this is what I was asking for all the people all the women that come forward. Trump attacked me. Do you have any police reports? Did you go to the authorities? Seriously. All these women, they claim this and claim that. It's see, this gal is a real victim, for which apparently Democrats have no sympathy for. I mean, that much is clear. For all of their blustering about, no, we're pro-female. You're not pro this female.
On Wednesday, he hit me around 3 in the morning. He would just wake up and hit me. And then last Saturday for my daughter's birthday party, before I went to my daughter's birthday party, he slapped me 3 times. And then last week I did call the police. My sister called the police because he hit me in front of my sister. I came to. So
her sister calls. Her sister calls. So there are probably multiple witnesses. He did it in front of her, which means he has no qualms with it. This is what you do. The reason that I hit her is because she can't listen. If she could only learn to listen, I wouldn't hit her. I'm amazed that this is the hill that Democrats want to die on. I don't get it. And they all, and I can only imagine that they just want to embarrass Donald Trump. That's the only reason because they don't care that if he does come back, okay, he's never coming back here. He's not going to come here to live. That's it. It's over. They just want him to have to come back. And people think, well, no, due process. It's like, he's been in front of courts, plural. Now, what does he say? Oh no, I can't go there. I can't go home because you can't take me back because a rival gang members are going to kill me. Rival gang members. Rival. Now, a good judge would have said, young man, that sounds like you're in a gang yourself. Is this true? Why would a rival gang, why would you even call it a rival gang? Why would you even say that? It's fascinating to me. Okay, but I think I really believe that we have reached a tipping point with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And from Fox News, Jeffries distances himself from Democrat trips to El Salvador as border security debate splits party. What? You mean that there are some Democrats that understand that this looks awful? This is unbelievable to me. House Minority Leader Hakeen Jeffries is privately signaling to fellow Democrats that it's time to hit pause on trips to El Salvador, aimed at spotlighting the deportation of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a move reflecting growing internal tensions over how the party is handling border security and immigration enforcement optics in the 2026 cycle. 2026 cycle. 2026 cycle. What kind of cycle do you think they're talking about? Bicycling in the 2026? And the 2026 cycling. I don't understand. Yes, because he knows Republicans are going to put Kilmar Abrego Garcia in a chain and wrap it around their necks. And he knows it. You know how he knows that? Because that's what he would do. It is a losing argument. It's one of those, what they call an 80-20. 80% of Americans want him gone. They're perfectly fine with him being gone, and they don't give a crap where he is. But 20% are really upset. That's Democrats right now. It's unbelievable. Though Jeffries has publicly said Democrats are committed to securing Abrego Garcia's return from the notorious Salvadorian prison, sources told the Bulwark that the New York Democrat has discouraged more lawmakers from traveling to the country. One senior House staffer described the leadership's position bluntly. Quote, "They want to let the El Salvador stuff slow down. They want to let the El Salvador stuff slow down." Close quote. You know what's going to happen, don't you? You know what's going to happen? Remember when in like 2022, 2023, 2024, we were yelling, the border is wide open. We've got millions coming in. Biden is just waving them in. Alejandro Mayorkas is just waving them in. Democrats said, the border's secure. I don't know what you're talking about. Mayorkas said it. No, it's secure. It's like, we just had 200,000 come in last month. No, it's secure. They would just catch and release them into the interior. So you give them a court date, they don't have to show up for court. 60 to 70% of them never show up for their court date. That's how you do it, by the way. Catch, release. Catch, release. You see, they need this to slow down, but they're gonna memory hole this. Because you're not going to hear anything, because all the stuff that continues to come out about this guy, the tattoo, they're trying to pretend, no, that doesn't signify anything. It's like, he literally has it tattooed on his knuckles. And I've heard that the reason he has it on his knuckles, because sometimes a person may get they're part of a gang or some sort of horrible group, and so they'll have a tattoo, but it's like on her back, or they'll get it and it's on some place where it's not easily visible. You would have to look for it. When you put it on your hand, you are saying to the world, yeah, that's the reason you put it on your hand, right in front of everybody, letting everybody know. So whenever you're doing transactions, everybody can look at your knuckles and say, what's all that? And everyone knows it. Now, I got to remind you, this is what Democrats did with regard to the border. They did this with the border. They did it with Biden. They said that Joe Scarborough was like, this is the most cogent, sharp, top of the game Biden has ever been. And then the second, right after that debate, nobody had anything to say. They just memory hold it. Like, no, I don't remember saying anything like that. And they come out and they go, it's a scandal. Apparently, Joe Biden has lost a step or two. It's like, wait, what? Because we were yelling that in 2021. And for years, they covered for him until they couldn't anymore. And I still maintain that was a setup by CNN. It was a setup. And they're just going to memory hole it. That's what they're going to do to this. They're going to have to. So during the entire, once 2026 starts ramping up, you're not going to hear anything about this guy. Because more and more and more things are going to come out, and it's going to be obvious he's a creep. This is not a guy you want as a poster child. In fact, let's just keep going. Quote, this is Patently false and thinly sourced innuendo, said Jeffries staffer Christy Stefferson, when leader Jeffries says more is more, push back on this lawless administration, he means it. As leader Jeffries has repeatedly said, House Democrats will never stop fighting for the release of Mr. Abrego Garcia. Close quote. Really? You sure about that? Because there was another Democrat staffer who said, no, they want this to slow down. Some people do want it to slow down. Some people want them to stop. Other people's are like, no. You got the, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She done, no. We got to go get this guy. The issue has divided Democrats, which is fascinating to me. It really is. How is that possible? And this is my suspicion. The Chuck Schumers, the Dick Durbins, the old Democrat regime, the Nancy Pelosi's, they know this is a stinker. They also know Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, AOC, Jasmine Crockett, they all know that they're not going to let it go. I really believe that perhaps the Democrats just need to split. I mean, like split. Because you have some, the left is pulling the party over a cliff. Somebody's going to have to pull the plug. I don't know who's going to do that. Progressives have embraced Abrego Garcia case as a symbol of what they say are unconstitutional deportations under President Donald Trump's renewal immigration crackdown. They call it a crackdown. It is a crackdown. But moderates are increasingly uneasy, pointing to the political risk of rallying around a figure with a checkered past. Hold on a second. A checkered past. The guy was caught human trafficking. I mean, the most vile. $1,400 in an envelope. Well, hey. Where'd you get that? Where do you think he got that money? Where do you think he got $1,400 in an envelope? He got it from the people that were in the truck with him, or the van or whatever, because he's human trafficking, which means he has a checkered past. It's unbelievable, man. Jeffries, who once demanded that Abrego Garcia be returned, quote, immediately before he's killed, close quote, has not publicly addressed whether he supports the strategy of sending congressional delegations to El Salvador. You mean he hasn't told you? Well, let's just, say that he's for it. He must be for it. He's a Democrat, isn't he? His spokesperson recently dismissed reports that he is pulling back from the issue as thinly sourced, but did not deny the substance when initially contacted by the Bulwark. The stakes are high, as Fox News Digital previously reported. Abrego Garcia, who was deported alongside more than 200 others, reportedly has ties to the violent MS-13 gang and was named in 2022 Homeland Security investigation into human smuggling. What? Oh, that's right. You mean, wait a minute. Hang on a second. Let me read that again. Abrego Garcia, who was deported alongside more than 200 others, reportedly has ties. Reportedly has ties. What does that mean, Fox? No, because you say reportedly. Reportedly by who? Oh, that's right. The immigration judges. Yeah. The immigration judges said, yeah. By the way, they didn't say he may be tied to it. It could possibly be. No, he's MS-13. This is unbelievable to me. Though never charged, he was stopped while transporting 8 undocumented passengers, and court documents in Maryland show a history of alleged domestic violence, including a judge labeling him a, quote, violent repeat offender. A court labeling him a violent repeat offender. This is the person Democrats are going to bat for. And this kind of, part of the problem in this country stems from these liberal universities and colleges. Because they go into the school thinking that they're going to be, taught something, but nothing could be further from the truth. They go in there and they get indoctrinated. And it doesn't matter what party you belong to. Doesn't matter your political leanings. Look at this. Though never charged, he was stopped while transporting 8 undocumented passengers. Undocumented. This is Fox News, by the way. Undocumented. Fox, what are you talking about? Like, what does that mean? I don't have it pulled up, but that stop that I showed you at the outset, the police officer asked, do any of these people in the car with you have ID, driver's licenses? The only person that had a license was Abrego Garcia. Sorry. But his was suspended. Joe Biden's FBI said, let him go. What do you think would happen to you? What do you think would happen to you if you were caught? But you had a ton of people in your car. You modified the car so you can put more people in there. And none of them have ID. And I'm not no speaking English. What would happen to you? This is the guy that Democrats want to back. That's fine with me. Despite this, Democrat lawmakers like Chris Van Hollen, Maxwell Frost, and Robert Garcia have flown to El Salvador in recent weeks to draw attention to Abrego Garcia's detention. Van Hollen's visit particularly sparked memes online with the now infamous Margaritagate. Margaritagate. Because he was sipping Mai Tais and margaritas with the gang member. You can't make this stuff up. Critics within the party, the Democratic Party, now worry that continued focus on the case and trips perceived as sympathetic to a deported gang suspect could backfire. You don't say. Quote, there's a moral argument to be made, one Democrat aide told The Bulwark. quote, but it's not clear this is the right poster case, and it's definitely not the right political moment, close quote. This is not the right poster case. You mean poster child? Now, you guys have probably heard about the child with cancer that was he deported. What a horrible meanie Trump is. They just lie to you because I guess they think they can because you won't check. I did. Okay. ICE gave them an option. You can leave the child here. The child's mother, you can leave him here or take him with you. And apparently the dad was saying he wanted to keep him here and the mom said no. Well, and I'm sorry because I know this sounds, unkind, borderline unchristian, which I get. I understand that. But I didn't tell him to come here illegally. I didn't tell them to do that. In fact, had they come to me, I would have told them, well, we've got about 20 some odd legal ports of entry. Go through that means. Go through the process. But they jumped the process. And now they want to claim the process in removing them. I got it, man. Democrats are, it never ends with these people. From the Daily Wire, China feels the pain. Exempt $40 billion worth of U.S. imports from tariffs. Now, my guess is, if you're listening to mainstream media, particularly MSNBC, CNN, and the like, you're not going to listen. You're not going to hear anything about this, and because they want you to believe that we're the only ones that have a kind of upheaval, financial upheaval with these tariffs, and we're the only ones. It's like, hey, just let me say this. Let's just start reading. China is quietly exempting numerous U.S. imports from its retaliatory tariffs on American goods, a sign that the Chinese economy is taking a hit in the trade war with the Trump administration, Bloomberg reported on Friday. A list circulating among businesses shows that 131 items, including pharmaceuticals and industrial chemicals, are not being slapped by China's tariffs, as multiple companies have been able to get the products into China without paying a duty, according to Bloomberg. The unconfirmed list makes up 24% of Chinese imports from the United States, worth around $40 billion. Why don't they talk about this? Why don't they talk about China selling their treasuries? They need to hide it from you. Because see, if you knew this, you may think the tariffs are working. You may even think, whoa, hold on a second. You mean Trump knows what he's doing? I'm going to make a prediction. And it's my hope, but it's a real good bet. This is all going to work out for our benefit. Us, meaning Americans. It's going to work for our benefit. When it does, they're going to label Donald Trump as a risk taker. He's still a fascist, but he's a risk taker. And sure, it worked out, but what if it didn't? That's going to be the narrative. Amelia, just imagine all of the people who would lose everything. as it's working, as Donald Trump said it would, that's going to be their narrative. The report comes shortly after U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that China's economy, quote, is slowing down substantially. They are the most imbalanced economy in the history of the world, close quote. What do you think that means? Scott Bessent said they are the most imbalanced economy in the history of the world. What do you think that means? Because I can only surmise what it means. That they have a stranglehold on industry there, right? And only certain people get to be in the upper echelon of their communist regime. Those people are pretty much those who are owning those companies. The importers, the exporters, people who are making real money from foreign nations. And then you have those who are, because you've always heard, I'm sure all of you have heard about the slave labor they do there. And so then you have that. Meaning they've got a bunch of people, let's call them the haves. And then they got a whole bunch of people who are the have-nots. Those are the people in the factories making those cheap toys, cheap dolls and whatnot. It's not a one way. Of course, China cannot handle this. And by the way, see, I'm not an economist. How is it that I can see it and everybody else is going berserk? And I say that I'm not an economist, I'm not a financial guy, but I'm telling you, if we're the buyer, we're the consumer, the American public, we consume, we love consuming. We consume content, videos, movies. We consume clothes, shoes, makeup. We consume everything top to bottom. I mean, we buy everything. We are the customer. They're the manufacturer. Now, typically here in the US, when you have a supplier, a manufacturer, and then you have us, the buyers, it kind of evens out. It evens out because the person that's purchasing the goods is feeding into the company, and then that company is paying their taxes, but they actually employ people to manufacture whatever they're manufacturing so that we can buy it, and it's a reciprocal, and it's great. When it's country to country, it's different. We're the ones buying. All we have to do is stop buying. Their economy collapses. They built an entire economy around everybody comes here to do their business. Everybody comes here. We pollute the air. No one cares. They do. They pollute the air. No one cares. China and India, they're the biggest polluters, and no one says jack squat doodly. We get to do whatever we want. Why? We're the manufacturer. We're doing all this. And then when Donald Trump comes in here and he says, yeah, okay, well, things are going to be a little different here. Things are going to get expensive. Yeah. But that's going to hurt them. It's going to cripple them. And that's what you see happening. And nobody wants to report on this. I guarantee you. Quote, we saw some very poor gross domestic product numbers out of China yesterday. We're not seeing very large estimate of job growth job growth loss from 5 to 10 million jobs. Hold on a second. We are now seeing very large estimates of job growth loss. Job growth loss. If nobody's buying your product, what are you supposed to do? Particularly, it's stuff that you don't need. You don't have to have a doll. You don't have to have, G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip. You don't have to have that. Because we're not talking about things that are like, must-haves, things that actually sustain your life. We're talking about stuff that you can do without. Those are the people that are losing their jobs. We are now seeing very large estimates of job growth loss from 5 to 10 million jobs. That's significant. Bessent told Fox News Business, quote, "So the Chinese economy is slowing down substantially here. So what we will first want to see is a de-escalation," close quote. You guys are going to have to, de-escalate this thing because you're bleeding. $5 to 10 million jobs. Poof. Gone. See, they don't want to talk about that. Rachel Maddow doesn't want to talk about it. None of them wants to talk about that. Bessent added that the trade war is not sustainable on the Chinese side. See, people think he's lying. He's not. You can't build an economy based on manufacturing and then the person that is supposed to buy your goods no longer are buying them. It's unsustainable. China remains defiant as Trump raised the tariffs on China to 145%. The communist country hit back at the United States with a 125% tariff on American goods, saying it won't respond to pressure threats and blackmail. But just as President Donald Trump exempted electronics such as smartphones because he wants Tim Cook to feel, okay. By the way, it's my understanding, and don't quote me on this, that the iPhones are going to move out of China. They're going to start making them in India. Trust me. China does not like hearing that. Smartphones and additional tariff on China. The Chinese government is seeking to soften the blow on its own economy from its own tariffs. Here, listen to this. The exemptions could also help ease tensions between the United States and China as the Trump administration continues to push for trade negotiations. President Trump said last month that China has reached out. About trade talks, quote, a number of times, close quote, adding that even if a deal cannot be reached, the tariffs will work themselves out. However, the Chinese government said this week that the White House has reached out, hoping to start talks with China. There's a whole lot of second. So Donald Trump says, oh yeah, they've called several times. Of course, the media says they take China's side. China goes, no, we didn't. They reached out to us. They're the ones reaching out to us. And of course, the media believes China because, well, they want China to win. You see how that works? You can't trust your media. They are actively working against you. Quote, China is currently evaluating this, the Chinese Commerce Ministry said, adding that it wants the United States to be open to completely removing its tariffs on Chinese imports. Quote, if the U.S. wants to talk, it should show its sincerity and be prepared to correct its wrong practices and cancel the unilateral tariffs. Yeah, because it's all us. It's not them. They're not stealing your IT. Come on. They're not stealing your intellectual property. Hey, stop saying stuff like that. We don't require all of your white papers when your company comes here. Hey, stop saying things like that. We don't do that here in China. Yeah, they do. Yes, they do. And like I've always said, they can't sustain this. They flat out cannot sustain this.
What did you think of the debate between Dave Smith and Douglas Murray on Rogan a couple of weeks ago? Did you watch that? And what
I did. I watched. I ended up watching. I wasn't planning on watching the whole thing, but I watched the whole thing. I'm constantly hearing from the peanut gallery demanding that I kind of give my verdict or my take on Israel and Israel versus Palestine and all this kind of stuff. And I have given my take, and my take is I don't care that much. I'm not just America first. I'm an American chauvinist in that I only care about my own country. I honestly don't care about other countries. I wish the people of other countries well. I think they all have a right to defend themselves, and they should. I think that if you can't defend yourself as a nation, or if you can't survive without being propped up by another government, say ours, then you shouldn't exist as a country.
Wait. If you can't exist without being propped up by another government, say ours, you shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Israel cannot exist without being propped up by the United States.
You think so?
Its nuclear program came from the United States. Its weapons come from the United States. Its economy is supported by the United States. I'm not attacking Israel. I'm just saying in point of fact, I think that's true. I mean, Israel thinks it's true, or they wouldn't have armies of lobbyists and influencers in the United States. Bibi wouldn't have shown up twice in the past 3 months.
From my perspective, it seems like they can handle themselves quite fine. But any country, if there is any country out there that fundamentally cannot exist without being subsidized by American taxpayers, then not only should that country not exist, but that country already does not exist.
What do you think about that? If a country cannot sustain itself without American taxpayer dollars, that country shouldn't exist. And as Tucker Carlson points out, they get everything from us. Now, it's my understanding, and, I could be wrong, but it's my understanding that Matt Walsh is a Christian. I think maybe even Catholic, although I'm not, don't hold me to that, but I believe he is a Christian. It's my assertion he's wrong. And you know why I think he's wrong? Because let's say that you have a neighbor and that neighbor falls on hard times. And so you, being a good neighbor, you float him a loan. Does that mean that if he can't sustain his wife and kids, that somehow, some way, he shouldn't be married anymore? Then your family is gone? You should lose everything because, after all, you needed that loan, a substantial loan. And let's say that the person, you floated the neighbor, and the neighbor, comes back and they actually pay you back. And then the neighbor says, I'll tell you what, because that was such a generous offer that I'm going to give you. And he turns out that he's got a buttload of guns and ammunition, and he's going to protect. Not only is he going to help protect your home, he's going to loan you guns. He's going to say, here, you get this weapon, and you can take this weapon, and you can take this weapon. But if you can't make an ally, if a country can't make an ally, because I think that we think it's only one way. Like, it's just that we're supporting Israel, but Israel isn't giving us anything. I think that's false. I think we get intel, crucial intel, from Israel, because they exist in a part of the world that is extremely hostile to the U.S. So much so that when they meet, their government meets, they yell, "Death to Israel, death to America." Now, the reason I bring up Matt and Tucker Carlson, for that matter, being Christians is because, well, they don't understand their ties to Israel. Typically because churches don't really teach biblical concepts. No, most Christians don't know anything about God. Nothing. They just think he's a man in the sky, and that's all they know. They don't know anything about God. That is faithful. But there's a reason he's faithful. Is it because the Bible says, "I'm the Lord, I change not." See, when you're right, you don't need to change. And God is not just right, he's righteousness. And when he says that the Lord, I am the Lord, I do not change, that's what makes him faithful. So God is faithful and God is just because he's righteous. Most people don't know anything about God. But the reason that I bring this up, I want to read to you from Galatians. Okay? This is the book of Galatians. This is starting at chapter 3. So if you have a Bible, please break it out so you can follow along. Okay? I want you to follow along so that you can see I'm not hoodwinking you. I'm not saying you something that's not in the Bible. I am going to read verbatim Galatians. It's in the New Testament, chapter 3. Okay? O foolish Galatians, who has bewitched you that you should not obey the truth, before whose eyes Jesus Christ was clearly portrayed among you as crucified? This only I want to learn from you. Did you receive the Spirit by the works of the law or by the hearing of faith? Now, there are a bunch of people that were coming into Galatia telling them that no, you got to adhere to the laws of Moses. And if you don't, you're not going to be saved. And Paul is saying, no, you are saved by grace through faith. This is very important. I know your pastor doesn't teach you, but this is very important. Are you so foolish, having begun in the Spirit? Are you now being made perfect by the flesh? Have you suffered so many things in vain, if indeed it was in vain? Now, listen. Therefore, he who supplies the Spirit, he being God, supplies the Spirit to you and works miracles among you. Does he, God, do it by the works of the law or by the hearing of faith? Just as Abraham believed God, it was accounted to him for righteousness. Therefore, know that only those who are of faith are sons of Abraham. Let me read that for you again. Therefore, know that only those who are of faith are sons of Abraham. This means if you are a Christian, if you came to Jesus Christ, you are, from God's perspective, a son of Abraham. I know that your pastor won't teach you this stuff, but you need to know it. And the scripture, foreseeing that God would justify the Gentiles by faith, preaching the gospel to Abraham beforehand, saying, in you all the nations shall be blessed. So then those who are of faith are blessed with believing Abraham. For as many as are of the works of the law are under the curse. For it's written, cursed is everyone who does not continue in all things which are written in the book of the law to do them. But that no one is justified by the law in the sight of God is evident, for the just shall live by faith. Yet the law is not of faith, but the man who does them shall live by them. They're saying that, hey, if you're going to abide by the law, if that's it, if that's how you're going to live, the laws of Moses, okay, fine. But you got to adhere to every single last one of them. And there's more than 10, by the way. People think that there's only 10. No, there's more. Christ has redeemed us from the curse of the law, having becoming a curse for us. For it is written, cursed is everyone who hangs on a tree, that the blessing of Abraham might come upon the Gentiles in Christ Jesus, that we might receive the promise of the Spirit through faith. So I have to bring, so that's the end of that chapter. I just need to show you. Therefore, know that only those who are of faith, if you call yourself a Christian, you came to Jesus through faith. If that is the case, and if that is your assertion, you are a son of Abraham, and therefore you are obligated to support Israel. I know you don't like it. I know you don't like it. But I'm going to go you one further. Your citizenship is not here. I know that you are looking at a proud American, and I am a proud American. I love the red, white, and blue, and I love everything about America, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I like it all, because that's how we got here. That's how we got here. I love it. That's right. But don't make a mistake that I would choose the country over God. I won't. God redeemed my soul, not my country. God will judge my soul and spirit, not my country. My loyalty is first to God. And if this scripture tells me that this scripture tells me I am a son of Abraham, the promise to Abraham was that I will bless those that bless you. I'll curse those that curse you. That was a unilateral contract between God and Abraham. It meant that even if Abraham and the children of Israel wanted to get out of it, they couldn't, because it was a unilateral contract. And when God said that there is no other name that I can swear this oath, so I swear by my own name. In the book of Romans, it says that we have been grafted into the tree. What tree? Judeo-Christian. That's why we call ourselves Judeo-Christians. Because believe it or not, we were grafted into the tree. The tree is Israel. That's the tree that we've been grafted into. Look it up. It's in Romans. Okay? You've been grafted into that tree. God didn't burn that tree down. Anybody who tells you, no, Christians replaced the Jews because they rejected Jesus. Are you out of your mind? Jesus is a Hebrew. Paul, Peter, they were all Hebrews. And you are the son of Abraham. And as such, you have what was coming to Abraham. I know your pastor doesn't teach you this stuff because it gets complicated, it gets political, and people don't like it. But I'm telling you, you have an obligation to support Israel. So I'm telling you right now, I don't care that Matt Walsh says that Israel shouldn't exist if it can't sustain itself, like Tucker Carlson said. I flat out reject that wholeheartedly. I would absolutely, I defend my, perspective with Israel. I know it bugs you. Nothing I can do about that. And if you got a problem with me, you don't have a problem with me. You actually have a problem with Scripture, because I didn't make the assertion. God did. All right, guys, that's it for now. Oh, hey, and this is a Bolivar Churchill, and this is like a staple. If you can get your hands on these, this is a staple, man. This is always a great cigar. You can't go wrong with it. You can't. All right, guys, that's it for now. If you like this video, smash the like button and subscribe. And if you're following me on Rumble, please press that follow button. And until the next time, God bless.